I'm Cyrus, and this is our lovely 1973 Stepside C10 Cheyenne. It's, I think we mixed and matched many parts, so it's the least original Cheyenne you could get.
Yeah, it's a combination of like 20 different trucks, probably.
Yeah, I think it was originally like a straight bed, but my dad swapped cabs over. I think the driver fender might be the original one,
Maybe.
and then the passenger door I think was the only original pieces. So,
Yeah, but that's all right. That's
Yeah.
what makes it fun, right?
but today, this week, we're working on hopefully finishing up the wiring in both the rear of the truck as well as most of the engine bay, which is what Matthew is going to be tackling. So we're going to kind of. I've hardly done anything, so he's the professional here.
Well, I would argue that professional's kind of a, I don't know, hesitant term. I can make vehicles not burn down, but that's not always the best thing. I've done a bunch of wiring on some of the classic cars that I have, so I was kind of learned on my own experience and decided that, we need to probably redo all the wiring on this truck because, again, like he said, it's a lot of different trucks worth of wiring and mixed up wiring that's crusty and crispy and kind of repaired.
Yeah, I mean, if you take a look at the old wiring harness, it's yummy.
Yeah, there's a lot of custom splices done by, a teenager / 20-year-old, which would be his dad, which I'm not going to judge. I mean, we all did sketchy wiring at some point, but if we're going to get the truck back going, it's probably better just to do it the right way at this point. So I've been teaching him how to do just the basic wiring stuff using heat shrink connectors and how to do all the different connections for the lights and all that. We have been doing most of the headlights, turn signals, marker lights, all that for the last week or two.
About 2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, I'm working on it for a couple hours, and then I think today I'm going to try and get the engine compartment finished up. I got a couple more things with the alternator and the charging system, and then under the hood should be done. And I think then we can start working under the dash. So far what we've gotten done, nothing super special. The wiring that was originally in here was for the marker lights, headlights, turn signals was all pretty, I don't want to say botched together because I'm not going to judge somebody else for the wiring they did. Obviously we've all done wiring that we're not entirely proud of. We just need to make a vehicle work. But we decided to go back through and make sure a lot of this works because a lot of it was cracked wires, miscellaneous wires, things that were kind of mixed together. Not really working great though. So far I've gone through, taped up this entire inner fender of wire. This is all ran with a new Painless Wiring Harness. We got marker lights, we got headlights, we got turn signals down here. All of this is all set up. It should wire right, should run right. We just need to obviously replace some bulbs. Spare wire left over for the horn over here. And then obviously followed across, and same thing on the other side. No difference, same wires. Just made it all look pretty clean. We did new headlight plugs, all that kind of stuff. We reused what we could for a lot of the marker light plugs, stuff that was okay. I think what I got done yesterday was I was able to set up, I was able to set up the wire for the HEI harness with the tack reader and everything. And then today I'm going to work on some of the gauges, which will be oil pressure gauge and coolant gauge. And then I will also work on starter wire and alternator charging. But most of the rest of that should be done. This big chunk of harness here will be for the alternator. Everything else under here should be pretty close to being done. And then, like I said, I can start working under the dash and get most of the gauges set up, get the switches set up for wiper switch and all that, and then kind of work our way back because Cyrus will be working on the rear of the truck, and we'll kind of meet in the middle and get everything mostly put together inside. And then after that, next progress will just be getting the truck running. So
yesterday Matthew showed me how to do splicing, the heat shrink, crimping all the fun wires. So I kind of want to go and show you what we've done so far. So the marker light has been fully wired in and heat shrunk. We got the turn signal as well as just another marker light for the turn signal as well. We have the backup light, which we're going to be doing today as well to kind of show you the simple process of doing it. And then, of course, we got the fun little wire inside for our courtesy little license plate light, which we've never used before in 20 years, so that's going to be a fun one. But we had two choices when it came to wiring the whole rear end of the truck. One was via splicing, which is the choice we went with, and the other one is chaining. Chaining is basically one wire throughout all the connection, and then splicing, we're able to have each individual wire for every single light, which, as Matthew described it to me, is way safer because if one side goes out, it's only like the passenger side that'll go out. If everything goes out, then I know it's something with the insert of the wire here. But I tried to make a small little adjustment to how we were going to do it. We want the marker light and the tail light coming from the front of the truck coming in together, with the left tail light and the lights and this other extra wire here coming in together to make a double splice. But we're going to go and kind of walk you through at least one of the small wires, probably for the reverse lights, just because, as you can see, it's just right here. It's going to be really easy just to go and show you. So we're going to go get some work done, and hopefully we can get all the rear lights done, and hopefully also do the sending unit for the tank.
All right, so after a little bit of work, I would say a little bit, more like a lot of it, took a while. I did a lot of the routing. Obviously, I had to become one with the truck to be able to do that. It's a lot easier, and honestly, the one thing I appreciate about these pickups is you can sit on the inner fender in the shade when it's 90-something degrees outside and work under the hood. I didn't do anything super, like, major, just the boring part of wiring where it comes to routing things. So coming up over the master cylinder here, I have the main power harness wire and the two wires that go to the alternator for the exciter and the reed gauge. They will go right here. Then I was able to run the main battery power wire out and around over to this painless junction block with the main power wire to the harness. It goes into there. This will probably go somewhere. We're thinking up here, that way this power wire from the alternator can just run along the valve cover instead of, going across like this way over to the inner fender. We'll then run, obviously, a wire from this over to the battery, which will be in this corner. But most of that is wrapped up and done nice and neatly. We have, like I said, the two wires here. Then sneaking behind the distributor here, I have wired in the HEI plug for the tach and battery power to the coil. I have, it's kind of hard to see back here, but there's a tiny little brown wire. This little brown wire will go to the oil pressure plug that's back here. And then this green wire will probably run along the valve cover right here and go up and over to the coolant temp sensor plug, which is right here. But I have those guys. Like I said, they are taped up on their own set. They're separate from the HEI set, but they are zip tied together because they run behind the distributor. Thankfully, again, these trucks have a lot of space, so they're kind of able to utilize that space to run the wires a little better. I'm used to working on Novas, which don't have as much space, and honestly, like on my Nova, the distributor is running into the firewall here, so you don't really have that kind of space. Other than that, though, most of what I need to finish up is just running the purple wire to the starter for the solenoid trigger, and then that will run obviously down here. We need to mess with the old battery cable here, get this one cleaned up a little bit. It looks like it's still pretty good. It's not super corroded. We can use it for now. It's a little beat up, but honestly it's usable. I have the two wires down on the starter for the main power and for the solenoid. They need to be fixed because they're a little chewed up. But that is most of what I've gotten done so far. In time-lapse, again, you saw that I did a little bit of just simple wiring, reading the wiring harness book, just making sure that I get everything as clean as possible. And because as much as I know how to do a lot of wiring, I'm always still learning, and I'd always like to double check, especially with that Painless Wiring book. I would prefer to either learn something or learn a different way to do the same thing. That's kind of what I always tell people is I'm not a professional with it, but I'm always willing to learn and kind of have new ways to do it. Other than that, though, most of the stuff under the hood has been finished up. We still got to do the washer pump and washer motor. I got to hook those up. But thankfully, the Painless kit already comes with the connectors for it right here. These connectors and then these wires for it. So all that's going to be pretty simple. Other than that, though, next step after this is just going up under the dash and connecting all this to the ignition switch, which Cyrus bought us a new ignition switch for this truck, which is definitely a lot better decision. We don't know how worn out this one is, and I know that the GM ignition switches, the ones that are on the column, they like to kind of have some issues when they get old, and they don't like to work as well as they should. So it's always better just to replace it if we have the money to do so. But so far, it's what I got done, and I know Cyrus has gotten a lot of stuff done in the rear of the truck. So
We finally got all of the rear tail lights actually fully heat shrunk, crimped and everything. So looking back here, got the ground one. We had to use some extra of the passenger side tail light blinker wire just because I got some new stuff. The gauge was too big and it wasn't going to work with the heat shrink that we got to also crimp it down. So I at least know the ground is green. The green is green. So regardless. And then we also have the wire to this one. It's supposed to be brown, but again, we use the remaining green wire. So I at least know that it's all going to be green, but it's pretty just right there. And we needed extra wire and we made it work. Then everything else was fully heat shrunk. We got this fully nice and tight, so not going to pull out. Nice and easy weatherproofing. And all I have to do now is go and get to where the gas tank is and change out the fuel sending unit wire. So that there's a brand new wire, it's routed cleanly and everything like that. But we made some good progress. I think we're basically almost down to just having to do the cab of the truck, which is going to be pretty nice and easy. Maybe not easy, but time consuming. But we're basically looking at having to do everything on the floorboard and routing it up to the gauges, all that fun stuff. We got some nice courtesy lights as well we're going to route. So we're going to try to clean the truck out and see what else we could get done today. If not, we'll see you next weekend. So, yeah.